So we're going to dive in. Today, we are talking about applying agentic AI on the ServiceNow platform to help fix some of the chaos found in managing CMDBs and the asset management module, particularly. So we'll go through a quick use case and talk about some of the latest features. So quick introduction, my name is Kyle Bruckner, working with RapDev. Been at RapDev for almost 4 years, and I've spent the last 14 years working in the ServiceNow ecosystem, heavily involved with Now Assist, generative AI, agentic AI nowadays. I've got a large background in ITSM, working with CMDBs, the whole ITOM space, and security operations. But Matt, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hey, Matt Morris. I'm a solution architect, solution engineer at RapDev, and I've got a long background in ServiceNow operations, large kind of data sets and how we make sense of them, and especially around how we use them to produce interesting outcomes with AI that we wouldn't have been able to otherwise, or would have been hard. So looking forward to talking more about this use case today.
Thank you, thank you. So quick couple of slides on RapDev, elite ServiceNow partner. We've got very healthy customer satisfaction score, plenty of accreditations, and a lot of certifications and counting. Here's a slide, just a glance at the type of organizations that we have the opportunity to work with and help solve problems for. Heavily involved in financial services industry. Moving forward, the first couple of things that I'd like to talk about before we get into how the use case applies to asset management and walking everybody through a demo of an example solution and some of the back end of how it works, so we can get some sense of even more elegant capabilities. I just want to highlight some of the latest ServiceNow features, those being knowledge graph and data fabric particularly. RaptorDB has had mixed feedback so far. It's good for most use cases, but I want to focus on the knowledge graph and how important it is for us to solution and really solve for problems that'll end up resulting in a lot of productivity, meaning we can begin to replace a lot of effort that's currently done by the human workforce with these AI agents on the ServiceNow platform. So you're going to see in our demo in a little bit that we're leveraging web search to collect information, and the knowledge graph, for example, alongside the data fabric. Actually, the data fabric is going to enable connecting directly into data sources without copying that data onto the ServiceNow platform, which usually comes with large data loads, wait times and lead times, stale data. Right? So the workflow data fabric is going to enable real-time data access to almost any system. It's pre-built connectors and integrations already, and partners like RapDev can help build brand new integrations to take advantage of that zero copy data integration to help empower the platform in general, but mostly the AI agents as we approach unlocking these productivity gains with the AI agents. All right, moving forward, I think we want to start a poll right now. So let's kick off a poll. The first poll is, where are you in your Now Assist journey? Exploring, planning, in progress, live, not really using it yet. So if you wouldn't mind, give it a go. Let us know where you're at in your journey. All right, let's see what the results were. %50 exploring, 20% planning, only 5% not using, 11% live. That's very interesting. Thank you for your participation. Helpful to know who we're talking to. All right, let's move on. I'll hand it over to Matt. You're on mute, Matt.
Yeah, I hit it and then it went back. So thanks for handing that over. So before we go back to Kyle for the demo, I want to take a moment to set the stage on why this work matters and where the opportunity lies with Now Assist and generative AI. At the core of every digital operation, whether it's incident response, change management, lifecycle planning, things on the operations side of things, the center of that is your CMDB and your asset inventory. These are meant to be the system of record, the backbone of your IT operations, but in reality, they can often have issues with missing data or state fields that are incorrect. They can get disconnected from what's happening across your environment in reality. And so this is sometimes a constant battle in many organizations to try to make that data accurate. When those records fall out of sync, whether it's a missing model number or an outdated warranty or unknown relationships, you lose the visibility quality that you need to produce those outcomes. You lose automation potential. Your teams spend more time tracking down answers manually instead of solving problems. So this is where Now Assist and this capability of agentic AI more broadly comes into play. ServiceNow's generative AI solutions are no longer just assistants. They're autonomous agents that can help by working in teams, collaborating, and driving real business outcomes. That includes enriching records, triggering workflows, even making decisions based on policies or context or logic, not just static scripts, which is what all we had at our fingertips before. So what's powerful here is the flexibility. These agents can be connected to the data sources that you already trust in your organization, like your contract systems, your inventory platform, your vendors' APIs for other tools that you're using, and even internal knowledge bases. This way, you're not limited to guessing or searching the open web. In today's demo, Kyle is going to walk through a scripted example that showcases exactly that kind of agentic teamwork, scripted in the sense that we've arranged it, not in the sense that it's based on scripts, right? It's based on AI. He's starting with a Dell server. He's going to run through some of these things. How can we make the data better using AI and fill some of these gaps? You're going to see agents that are working together to investigate, retrieve, and make updates. So this is what it can be like to bring together real-time intelligence into your CMDB and asset processes. Full transparency, the agents that we're using in this demo, they're using some web search, they're using some things that Kyle's going to run through. That's more of a placeholder as you imagine, how can this attach to your own data sources? In production, you'd want to plug into your trusted data fabric, ensure accuracy and security. And the point here is to show you how this is possible, right? Switching out data sources is not a big deal. The main part of the capability that was missing up to this point has been the reasoning ability, the ability to make more dynamic decisions based on unpredictable data. So with that context, let's look at how we can move from manual enrichment to intelligent automation and see how this plays out in action. And I'll hand it back over to Kyle.
Thank you, Matt. That last line was really nice. So here's another poll for the group. How complete is your asset data? Fully complete, mostly complete, partially complete, or are you still in spreadsheet HE double hockey sticks? Yep, so if you wouldn't mind, take a minute, provide an answer. All right, let's take a look at those results. In the next step, we're going to move on and talk a little bit about agents. Mostly complete, some gaps, partially complete, needs work. Good, no spreadsheet wanderers. All right, thank you very much. I like this slide a lot because it gives us a really good illustration of how the agents have been designed on the ServiceNow platform, it gives us a little bit more insight into what their capabilities are. If you're familiar with MCP servers, right, the gateway for an AI agent in the MLOps sense, the gateway to tools and data, ServiceNow has done a good job by kind of wrapping up that concept right together with the AI agent itself. So AI agents inside of ServiceNow can be configured with access to data and tools, functions, scripts, workflows, actions, skills, you name it, it can access it. We're going to be showing a lot of web search and scripts today with our agents. But it also paints a picture of what those potential capabilities are. Right? RapDev so far has been completely against stopping at the idea of, or disregarding rather, the idea of generative AI power being related to summarizing tickets or summarizing content. We're always thinking about the next opportunity to reflect on what the human's current capabilities are, like going to get data from another tool, or analyzing data and making a decision or a recommendation from it, or changing stateful information in a ticket, right? Updating a ticket with information, moving a ticket from one state to another, collaborating with somebody else to make a decision, right? All of these capabilities are things that the AI agents should be doing themselves, so that they can start to augment what our current workforce is doing. Not completely replace them, but we want opportunities to scale ourselves and one another. And RapDev believes wholeheartedly that the AI agents are the way to do that. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the tool. And then we'll get into some Q&A. So the very first thing that I want to show everybody is, we'll hop into just the workspace here for a minute. I've got the Now Assist panel open on the right side, and I'm going to show the user experience first. I'll explain what happens as we go. I've turned on supervised mode for every single action that our agent workflow and agents are going to take. Of course, every single thing that we see here could be automated completely, so the users are never interacted with. I'm going to play the user role. And the first thing we're going to do is take a look at, this is my server. This is the server here, Dell PowerEdge server. We have on the contracts form section, warranty expiration date is missing. We want to get that information filled in. I don't want to allocate a human resource to go and find that information. And we also have the model number, or the model is also missing. That's, again, I don't want a human to go and dig for that information. I'd rather set up a team of AI agents to consult with their data sources and find that information on their own. So from the workspace here in the Now Assist panel, I'm going to just copy our asset name, and I've built in a condition to kick off the agentic workflow. But with a condition, right, state changes to something, or a certain field ends up with a value in it, and the agentic workflow kicks off, we can also invoke it from the Now Assist panel here. So I can say with this keyword, enrich this asset, hit enter on the Now Assist panel. Now Assist is going to analyze this request and maybe give me an option of what I can do, or it might fly right into it. So here, Now Assist replies, okay, I think I know what to do. Here are your options. So it gives me this option to invoke or kick off the agentic workflow that we've set up in the backend, which we will take a look at when I'm done walking through this. I've selected enrich hardware asset data. So now the AI agent is ready to begin enriching the asset with additional, would you like me to proceed? So again, everything is in supervised mode. So me, the user, maybe my risk appetite is kind of low at the moment, just testing the waters. I say yes, and on it goes. Now the agent right now is reflecting, or the agentic workflow right now is reflecting across its team of expert agents that I've set up to do one good thing each. and it's identified what the first step is, the right agent to utilize. I'm ready to retrieve the serial number for the asset. Okay to proceed? Yep. And now it's reflecting on, after using a scripted tool applied to one of those agents, it's reflecting on what the next steps are to get the job done. What does enrichment mean? And I'll show you the instructions on the agentic workflow at the end. But now the agentic workflow and its team of agents have decided to communicate back to the user all on its own using generative AI. I'm ready to determine the manufacturer and model using the serial number provided. Is it okay to proceed? Proceed. Now, likely the agent that it's going to select to use next is hooked up with a skill that uses web search. So it's going to create a dynamic prompt, search the web with that model and manufacturer information, along with the serial number, to try and get the next set of information. Unable to identify the manufacturer and model. Oh boy, demo curse. Hold on, let's check our model. Should be good. Well, we're just going to ask it to retry, being finicky. Let's try to blow by that and just skip that task to keep going. And then if we can't get through it, we're going to have to walk into the agentic workflow and take a look at the tools in the back end. All right, so that got stuck. All right, what I want to do now is let's just sidestep that for a moment and hop into the AI Agent Studio. And we'll talk through how the agentic workflow was set up, what agents it used, and the skills and tools that were also used. And then we'll take a look at what the expected results were supposed to be. Oh, we might have broke it. There we go. Okay, so we've built out this agentic workflow to enrich the hardware asset data. It just starts with a description, helps the generative AI sort of reflect on what this agentic workflow does, which helps the Now Assist panel understand what can be invoked when a user submits one of those invoking commands. So we've set out a list of instructions for this agentic workflow to follow. The first thing is really asking the user if it's okay to proceed. So you have this human in the loop concept. And then we have the agentic workflow leverage one of the agents to get the serial number from the record. Then we intend that the serial number is used to try and determine the manufacturer model and the model agent, or sorry, the manufacturer and the model using the determined manufacturer and model agent that's set up below, which we'll take a dive into. And we'll find the asset's warranty expiration date using a skill and web search. And then finally, we use step 5 here to apply that new information to the record. And then finally inform the user that it's done. So the first thing that this agentic workflow does is leverages this get serial number agent. And if we pop into the add tools and information, we should have a tool here called get serial number. And this serial number script accepts one input, which is the display name of the hardware asset. And we just parse that out, add it to a query, hit the ALM hardware table, find the record that it maps to, and then set the serial number to a set of outputs. Now the serial number outputs is recognizable from the LLM that's driving the agentic workflow and the AI agents. We set it to supervised, and we display the output for the user in the Now Assist panel. So going back here, we have, close that one down. We have the determine manufacturer and model AI agent. And the agent's just set up with a description regarding what it does, the AI agent role, and the instructions. The instructions on this agent are very simple. Utilize the get manufacturer and model skill in order to accomplish the goal, which is accepting the hardware asset serial number and attempt to identify the asset's correct manufacturer and model. So popping into the tools and information, we can see there's a Now Assist skill. We'll hop into that one. And here's the view of it from the AI Agent Studio. And what I want to do instead is actually hop into the Now Assist skill kit to show everybody how that was configured. So we have within the Now Assist skill kit, get manufacturer and model skill. All right, so what we can see here is that this skill is set up with an input. It's going to accept the serial number, and we just give the skill a prompt to interface with the LLM. You're a hardware asset expert. Your task is to determine the manufacturer and model of the hardware asset, and then we input the serial number here, just inject it with variable interpolation, and then we give it some instructions and an expected output sequence. Now this skill is special because what we've done, if I go over here to the tool editor tab, we've inputted a web search tool. So there's additional information injected into the prompt dynamically in order to give the LLM more information to make a decision. So we just set up our search query here. What hardware asset manufacturer and model is the serial number? And that gives us the information. It gives the LLM the information it needs to make a decision. That's the web search example. In a real production environment, you might hook into maybe using Workflow Data Fabric, one of those reliable data sources that might have that information readily available. All right. Going back to the list of agents within the agentic workflow, the next one would be determine the warranty expiration. So inside of this agent, again, a description can and usually is the same as either the role or the instructions. This agent just determines the hardware asset's warranty expiration based on the following inputs, right? Display name, manufacturer, model. And if I hop into the tools, this agent is hooked into a Now Assist skill, find warranty expiration date. So what we can do is hop back into the Now Assist skill kit. We're going to open up that skill, find warranty expiration. Now this skill, little different, has 3 inputs. We inject those variables into the dynamic prompt. This can be as elegant as one needs. And then we find that information with another web search. Then back on the agentic workflow, we have our last agent, which updates the hardware asset with enrichment info. This one is using a script tool. The instructions are basically, they use this tool to update the record with the information that the rest of the agentic workflow and collection of agents have already found. So we pop into the tools. We've got a script tool here, update hardware model and expiration, set to supervised, so the user has to approve it. We didn't get that far because the demo curse punched me in the chin. So this one has 3 inputs: model, warranty, and the display name. We use the display name to find the asset in the table that we need to update. And then if we do find it, we're going to actually look for the real model inside of the CMDB hardware product model, set limit to 1, keep it efficient. If we find one, we end up popping that model ID right onto the record. Okay, and the warranty expiration came from that warranty expiration agentic AI agent, which used the warranty expiration now assist skill. So that information gets passed in here as well. The reason that all works is because when we set our inputs in the agent tool, we give it a description so that the LLM can reflect on, what does this variable mean? What is it related to? How does it relate to what work is being done here, right? And then we essentially just update that hardware asset and return the outputs of the whole operation back to the agentic workflow. All right, and that's it. And now what we're gonna do, Matt, if you could, let's take a minute to go through some questions, and I'm gonna try to kick this server here and get it to work so I can get all the way through the use case for the group. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take it. Let's go through some questions. There were a few things that were asked so far, and happy to take any other questions that you guys have. I was just in the middle of responding to a question, so I'll answer it live actually instead of typing it out. So Salwa asked, can you use agentic workflows to determine gaps in your data, such as a software discovery tool showing a different number of installations than the software installations table? So you could use AI to do things like this. From an agentic standpoint, following up on data like that could be really interesting, right? And the main comparison part of that would probably be basically a scripted tool that just does that comparison, and we can let the agent kind of use that tool to run through for different CIs. We would probably want to start with something at the top where it's first identifying CIs that might be having that issue, so that it doesn't just end up running that for everything, because that could get expensive quickly. But this is something that, when you have hundreds of thousands of CIs, we can filter down to a group that we want to look at, or maybe specific classes that we care about that for, and then have tools attached to the agent that can do those kinds of comparisons or look for those kinds of data issues. There's another question here from Grant. It says, do you know if and when the creator AI script generation will be able to be used in the tools for helping with scripting? A lot of the out-of-the-box AI agents and tools from ServiceNow are built with scripts. So I think you're asking, when will it start generating this? I don't know if it'll be from the creator side. I don't have a lot of information on the roadmap for that, but I do know that when you're in the agent studio, there are several spots where you can invoke Now Assist to help you with configuration, that you can look for like improvements to your prompt that you used. There are probably spots where you could also use it to help you with forming up tools. So I think that's definitely, there are pieces of that are possible today, and I would expect there's more of that on the roadmap going forward. I know in the agent studio, there's things on the roadmap for making it easier to build agents using Now Assist in the process. On the creator side, I'm not as sure about how that's going to look, if creator will eventually be able to generate agents really easily and do a lot of those things, but on the agent studio side, for sure.
All right, let's take a break from questions so I can get through this use case. It seems to be working when we test it out in the backend here at the Now Assist panel at the moment. So the point that we got to so far, the system found the serial number. It ended up identifying through a web search what the manufacturer is and the hardware model, and now the agentic workflow has reflected on what the steps are and the tools at its disposal, and it's ready to determine the warranty expiration. So we're just going to click this and say, yes, proceed. The warranty expiration date of the hardware asset is whatever. And now it's just starting the next step. It should probably ask me if it's okay to proceed because everything is supervised. Yes, proceed. Last time I wrote proceed instead of yes. I think that's what busted it. But now the hardware asset has been updated. Let's see if it completes its last step, which was to ask the user to review the updates. It says confirm. I'm okay with that. So then we can pop over to the asset itself, and there you go. Now you have a model number that's been added, and then on the contracts tab, we've got a warranty expiration date that has been added to the warranty expiration field. So couple of fields, right? The point of this is, here's what you can do. We're just scratching the surface. Now reflect on what other information is currently missing across your assets or CMDB, and then what the possibilities might be to enable AI agents to go and find that information and clean it up instead of having dedicated resources to do that. So just real quick, and then we'll get back into the questions. We have, it's one of the things that RapDev is good at, positions itself as, and wants to get involved with, which is taking the capabilities of these tools, the platform, Now Assist, and working alongside those process experts across enterprises, and really determining which personas within the org have opportunities to be scaled. We figure out what those points of scale are, and then we help augment those personas across the various processes. But yeah, very good. We've got next question in the chat. Did you answer that one, Matt?
I think I've answered most of the other questions, but we can talk through them too if anybody has follow-ups on those. You know, there was one about integrating with discovery tools. I think in this case, the idea was like the discovery tools didn't find a way to populate it. If one of your discovery tools has this information and for some reason it didn't come through to the CI, then we would probably want to more so debug the discovery side configuration and look at why was that attribute not populated, and then potentially solve for that. And AI can help us to solve for some of those things as far as researching the instance, coming up with fixes for an issue that we're seeing versus our ideal, and things like that. So in that case, we would probably debug that more on the discovery side instead of just trying to patch that over with an agent. But still, an agent can be useful with helping with discovery config, for example. There was another question that I answered, which was typed about FedRAMP. I understand there were some early, we could say like hiccups or some friction with deploying agents in FedRAMP. From what I've heard, I was on a call yesterday where I heard that most of that stuff is resolved. I don't think there are any open known issues. And that was more in the context of a specific customer that we're working with, but I don't know if there might be anything else that remains with that. ServiceNow is definitely the best source for information about any ongoing limitations. From everything I've heard, it sounds like most of that is resolved. And there was one last question about workflow data fabric. So workflow data fabric, the whole concept with data fabric is to bring information from tools that we might not want to necessarily save in ServiceNow all of the data from that tool. And so we do it in more of a zero copy kind of a way that we can reach out and just temporarily hold some information that we can use to enrich data in ServiceNow or to achieve outcomes that we want in ServiceNow without needing to store that data for any long-term kind of timeframes.
Good. That's good stuff. I'm going to answer Rita's question real quick, which is, I don't see tools and information section in Agentic workflow. Am I missing a role or something? So I've just entered an Agentic workflow here, ours from this use case, enrich hardware asset data. And you have these three sections: describe and connect, which is the instructions for the agentic workflow and the agents that it has at its disposal, right? The team that it can collaborate with. And then the only other thing you can do from an agentic workflow really is define a trigger, which is what kicks it off. On the flip side, if I go back to create and manage, and then instead of an agentic workflow, hop into AI agents, I can pick on one of the AI agents from our hardware asset enrichment agentic workflow. You have describe and instruct, which you give it a little bit of a prompt, and then you have add tools and information. This is where the tools are. So it's at the AI agent level, not the agentic workflow level. And from here, we can add any one of these slick tools to the AI agent. Next question we have from Lakshmi. Can we just integrate workflow data fabric to agent workflows to query external tools and get the response? Yes, you can. Ideally, that's the state, the production state that would be recommended and that you want to strive for is utilizing those more elegant tools. Right now, something like, or recently in the past, something like a Spoke might have been a good option, or an outbound REST call. But now that we have access to workflow data fabric, that's going to be the preferred option moving forward, as long as connectors exist for it. And when they don't exist, build them. All right, very good. Another question came in, is there documentation on agent AI integrations with tools? From Salwa. I think the best documentation that you're going to find is straight out of the ServiceNow docs site. There is a lot of good information out there regarding, for example, the tools here that are at our disposal. There are descriptions for each one of them out on the ServiceNow docs site and what the capabilities are. And then, of course, you always learn faster when you're in the fire. So the best recommendation is get in there and try it out. All right. Next question. Are we able to trigger multiple hardware asset data at once? And can the same approach be used on business applications? From Violet. Yes, the agentic workflow can be invoked multiple times at once. Now, the limitations are, as a user, I can deal with it multiple times at once. They would end up in different chats. So the way that looks on the screen here is I can go back to my chat history, and I could work through this agentic workflow on different chats. For example, here's one that was working a little bit before, and then I could jump around the chats if I was working on different assets at the same time. And then you might think, maybe there's an agentic workflow that doesn't have to interact with the user. You could kick off as many as is feasible, right? Depending on the amount of Now Assist consumption that's getting eaten up. So there's no limitation on parallelism until you get to the hardware limitations, right? And yes, of course, it could be used on business applications. The idea is let me pop over here to create and manage and head into enrich hardware data, the agentic workflow, and we'll just take a look at the trigger. Here's the trigger record for our agentic workflow. What we've done here is identified a table, hardware. Realistically, you could identify any table on the ServiceNow platform. So any record, any data set, any bit of information that a human would be used to touching, or a scripted legacy static system component, some activity that would be touching and modifying, that could be migrated to agentic AI, right, to help scale the humans and make the system more dynamic, behaving more on the content rather than static logical instruction. So yeah, it could be leveraged for business applications. Alrighty, next question from Chris. Have you tried other AI solutions, GPT, for scripting assistance? Yeah, this Chris, this is another can of worms. We use it extensively internally, and in fact, we recommend hooking into OpenAI models or Claude models, Anthropic models, instead of leveraging the ServiceNow generic LLM. They're just better, right? ServiceNow is in the I'm going to give you a framework game to build out your workflows. They're not necessarily in the model game. So it's always advisable to leverage the leading model providers across the industry. Our specific choice or preferred choice is OpenAI at the moment. It always changes. All right, next question from Grant. If you build out the AI agent, like you have in this example, can you put this on the record as a UI action or something else so you don't have to use the chat panel, like how ServiceNow has summarization and other functions on the record form? I think what I want to do to answer this is just flash skill settings. So if I pop into a skill, you have options, right? And this is specifically for a skill. So Now Assist panel, UI action, flow action, Now Assist context menu, virtual assistants. There are options to deploy skills. Okay. If I pop back over to this enrich hardware asset data, again, we've got the power of creating triggers, so we can base it off stateful change within a record and a table. That's great. So it can be automated, wouldn't require interaction from a user in the Now Assist panel. There are also methods, libraries, APIs rather, to invoke it from a script. So you could create a UI action, old school way, pop the UI action on a form, and then enable a user to kick off an agentic workflow or just an AI agent from a form or a UI action. So it's very flexible in how it can be, how Now Assist components can be invoked or triggered. Perfect. Final thank you for everybody. Appreciate the time and the patience watching me deal with the demo curse and then actually finally getting it to work. That was awesome. Appreciate the questions. Always love getting into it with everybody, what the capabilities are, how we can leverage this great tech and start to really scale ourselves and clean up our data and get to the next level with this this wonderful framework that ServiceNow has given to us. Trying to find productivity. Appreciate it. Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.